Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Friday. It is a Friday, and you were in the Java Cafe for a special edition. We can call it Freestyle Fridays. We can call it Flex Friday. Next week, I will need to share with you a testimony. Some of my inner circle are aware, and some of you may have seen footage about the 2-alarm fire where 5 people were displaced in Roxbury. Which I said I wasn't going to mention it so I can keep myself together. It could have been me. And that's all I'll say is I moved a month ago, and had I not, I would have lost everything. And so we're not going to have Calvin have to pull me out from under my desk with a white sheet this morning. But I'll just say that I thank God. One of my brother's sons said, this needs to be Testimony Friday. I said, no, we got 2 guests already. So some of you have seen the footage. People have been still reaching out. I'm okay. I'm not there. And we'll talk about that next week. So we are here today to talk about Boston politics. There is a lot that's going on in Boston politics right now. There's a lot of interesting sentiment, frustration, disappointment, discouragement within the Black community. And this brother, I met many years ago, and we were talking about when I met him, what he looked like. And I'll just leave it like that. I'm going to go ahead and bring Calvin in because I see him in the
Slim Jimmy, my guy. By the way, when we met, I had hair and you weren't Slim Jimmy. It would have been Thick Jimmy then.
Big, thick, barley Jimmy back then. So when I saw the post this morning, Deacon Jimmy and Slim Jimmy, and we will keep the other one.
Keep the other ones. Those are personal.
We'll keep that for after dark. Yeah. But brother, you do a lot of work. You move in the healing space with a lot of people. I don't know if you are fully, but and this may come up this year, I can't remember the term. Shaman, like you move in healing space.
I don't know if I move in the healing spaces.
Yeah. But you're an activist, you're an advocate, you're a strategist, you're operative, all of that, but you're centered in community and Black and brown folks. And so I just want to set that context right here. Folks, as we're getting ready to get started, like and subscribe, and also invite some others into the Java Cafe, because this is I'm sure Calvin is going to make me turn red a couple of times. But we're going to have a real conversation. It will include information. It will include language around mobilization and what it is that we need to do to exercise our power. And he has a perspective that understands City Hall and the State House, but most importantly, us. So, Calvin, how are you doing? And then I'm going to ask you after you greet the folks and say how you're doing, I'm going to ask you to describe the state of Boston Poly in one word.
Ooh, I am blessed and highly favored. First, I got to say, man, I'm so glad you weren't in that, you know what I mean, in the blaze. And look at how, people say the Lord works in mysterious ways. We brought you, the Lord brought you the kids that were setting off the fireworks, which had you move, and then now you safe. So in fact, thank God for them kids. If the parents and, could keep your kids and your dogs quiet, because some of us been up all night popping fireworks in the neighborhood. Now we grateful. Look how grace works, bro. Look at how grace works, bro.
Some of the correlation there is interesting. I will just say that if you're a property manager and a homeowner, live up to inspectional services and do what you're supposed to do. But we'll talk about that later.
But thank you. I appreciate that. The word for Boss Poly, I like the first word you said earlier, flex.
You said flex. I didn't say flex.
I thought I heard you say, some people trying to flex, you know what I mean? And some of that got to get checked. And then some of the flexing is good. And, let's talk about it.
Okay. So let's talk about it. You gave a little bit of context as far as the flex, and where do you want to start? I know I haven't talked to you necessarily about the not in depth about the city council presidency.
We can start there. Let's go there.
Okay, and then we'll also talk about, I don't know if you got a chance to see Wednesday's city council meeting.
I heard it was live. I did not see
it. I watched it, and it was interesting. And then, you know, I'd love to hear your perspective as someone that used to work closely with our great ancestor, the Honorable Chuck Turner. And then we'll just, you know, sort of freestyle based on some of the comments as well.
I love that. And shout out to Madison Park, man, but a new building, not at that place. I don't love this connection, actually. But Chuck Turner, I'm just thinking about where he needs to be. And something that was Votech, because he was so into the trades and saw that as a pipeline to good paying jobs for local residents and important to development in the community. Same as Mel King, man. So I'm just thinking about those two amazing ancestors a lot this morning.
I don't know if the correlation of naming Chuck and Madison was along the lines of something I've been holding on to while we're looking at this new reinvigorating of Madison. But one, I know Madison Park was named after a park that was there, but you know, which Madison was it named after? And while we're doing all this changing, is it time to look at the Turner King Vocational Tech High School, or so yeah,
or the Mel King, and maybe Chuck's thing is something different. I'm just thinking about them.
Yeah, because Mel King's likeness is in the front of Madison, I believe, to the left there. But I just had the thought while all these changes are going on. All right, let's try to stay chronological.
All right, so the presidency, you said, right?
Yes. What? So let's go back a little bit. Gigi dropped that she had the 7 votes,
which I believe was the truth at the time.
And Calvin, let's just level set for folks, because you move in this space and know it well. There was a lot of conversation about it was too early, no one ever did that, blah 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 blah. Had some conversation with Roofsy about how she wound up dropping, when she had the votes. What happened?
But those were close in time. She's been close in time to how they always have happened. Here's what I think happened. I think Gigi caught a stray of, and this is what I'm opining, but I've definitely talked to people very close, and I'm close to people very close. Gigi has the votes. There's concern about the brother Henry Santana, who I don't know super well, right? Newer to the scene for me, right? Go back, Boss Polly 2002. So newer in the scene, young dude, seems like a good brother. But there was a big concern about too tied to Michelle, you're too owned type of vibe. I don't want to be mean to him. I don't know him a lot. But the vibe was you're way too close to her. Gigi Prego-matic. He finna run the council for some months, and we think Michelle's going to run the council for them. We don't want that, which I completely understand. Right? So that sort of fell apart. Then it looked like Brian had the 7. Right?
It was because when they dropped it, Gigi dropped. I posted that it was all that Brian had it in the bag.
Right.
And
a lot of people thought that, but then here's where they messed up. And let me tell you, the Worrell brothers move really good. I see Chris a lot more because I'm in the State House a lot more than like Boston City Hall. Okay. I'm actually never at Boston City Hall, but I'm in the State House a lot. And I see Chris moving, and they both move very well in these political streets, right? They know what they're doing. What I thought was a mistake was when I heard he had the votes. And then at the last minute, people, including our council president, are like, I can't be on the coalition of Ed Flynn
and Aaron
Murphy lifting up John Fitzgerald. Ed Flynn's the nominated. Like, Ed Flynn's making a nomination. I would have had them in the back. If you really wanted to pull it off, I would have had them in the background. By the way, crazy shit like this have happened before. In 2001, Charles Yancey was council president for a year. And it wasn't because they loved him. It was they took him out 1 year immediately. But it was because the two white factions were beefing, and it was the more conservative whites with Jim Kelly and the more liberal whites.
Oh, God, going back.
Jim Kelly and
yes. Oh, Jesus.
Right? So, and Mike Ross was new. All these guys were new at the time. And Chuck wasn't there. Gareth Saunders was there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're beefing. And then the Jim Kelly coalition, ironically, the conservative coalition, was like, we don't want them to have it. Let's all throw our votes to Charles, and made him the council president. It was so wild. So a similar thing happened where two people back out feeling like, I can't be on a coalition with Ed Flynn. Why was he nominating? And when you talk about having 7 votes, right? So yes, Brian had 7 votes. He had his own, right? He had his own. And then so he had 6 others. 3 of the 6 are the most conservative members of the body who are super Michelle haters, who I don't think have stood for racial justice at all. And then it should have told us something when the Herald was like, put a video out, put an article out being like, Black Boston stunned and disappointed at council presidency. Raise your hand if you think the Herald care about Black Boston, or if they're seeing a moment to divide and conquer.
So if you don't mind, you're affirming. So I'll be honest with you. In walking out of Symphony Hall at the inauguration, I said to one of the counselors, I said, you know, Brian pretty much got it. And they looked at me and said, Brian ain't got nothing that's being backed by Aaron and Ed. And I was like, oh, but I just, so let me, and I get the coalition, and some of what I'm about to say is to spill in the P3. I get that. I had the same, and you know, everybody knows I don't rock with Aaron first, Ed, John Fitzgerald, and you were in the hall when he was in a BRA, right? I think it was in BRA. John can go, he can go either way. And I'll be honest, I asked him about a couple of things, and he said, it's really tough. You know, you got the conservative side, and so I've always said that he can be malleable. So you got 3 most conservative. What did you watch the vote?
No.
Oh, most of the
I'll tweet live, the live tweeting. Lisa.
Okay. What did, even with what you said, was there a moment that all the, and Calvin, a lot of what I'm going to say is in consideration of what's going on nationally with the erasure, the deportations, the hate of Black people, the little Minaj maggot girl. I would have hoped that Ruth C. or Henry would have put the ability to navigate after and get the Black man elected as president before a lot of, and it's obvious per Wednesday, there is a lot of petty high school personality dynamic conflicts that is just, it's not good for us.
Sure. But if they get empowered, what if one of them gets redistricting? Because they want to make that district whiter. They had that biggest fight over making that district, making John's district whiter. They wanted to do that. They were so explicit about that. And they were wildly attacking of Liz Breeden about that, called her like anti-Catholic, called her like a Protestant extremist, is what Frank Baker said.
Well, yeah, I was giving, as you said that, his name came up. So I get that. And so the other thing, Calvin, is, you know, I had all of them on, Gigi, Brian, Henry, Julia, I think that was, and Roofsy. I didn't get to get Roofsy on. I also understand that there are the personality things, the dynamics. A lot of them have had 1 and or 2 terms to work with each other. There's a lot of backroom mistrust. I believe that the public attention that was brought to the city council vying for president has changed. I don't think we will ever not have that on our radar right after a municipal election. I don't think so. I think, however, for some, and it's evident in their terms, some don't rock with the transparency that Julia Mejia tries to bring to the council. And so I think that lends to the issues of trust. And I'll end with this part here. Brian could have got the presidency. And Brian, as you said, he's smart enough to know he may have had to go back. You know, there's the conversations to get the votes. And then there's the reality of what happens after with the committee assignments and whatnot. So I would hope.
But if he becomes president, I mean, if there are 3 of your 7 votes and you're one of yours, you got as many of them as anyone else. So you gotta give them something. It ain't like they're gonna walk in there and get blanked. And I'm worried about them getting anything.
I heard that between the 2 of them, they was vying for public safety and education. And I asked Brian explicitly, I said, did you? And if I remember right, he said no. So, you know, so there was a city council presidency in these. Okay, so let's speed up because there's a trifecta that I've been referring to. That happened with Brian, and that put a lot of Richard Taylor was in the chamber. Clementina Sherry was in the chamber. A lot of Charles Yancey was in the chamber. Like, there was this belief that the black man was going to get the city council presidency.
That's sad, man. Yeah.
What do you, with all that we said, did we miss a moment?
I don't think so. I mean, here's the thing. Number one has been funny to me. This the black man thing, because we need to get a black man on the at-large city council in Boston. Haven't been able to do that. Right. I was trying to do that last year with Marvin Mathieu. Shout out to the homie. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just so interesting when we choose to jump to this and not. Right. And the fact that we had like consecutive black women as council presidents. So it felt more of an ideological thing. And I think that's a connected adjacent question, because I see moderates and conservatives, even on the black side, and the Latino side of Boston. Oh, shout out to Carlos. He knows the Young Turks. That's what they called them. It was like the Young Turks, it's like that was their little clique. Tobin was part of that. And
oh, Jesus, you going way back. Okay.
No, we're talking about 2000. They all won 99.
Yeah.
2000. Oh, right. 2001, 2002. But so I think that there's people that are trying to take away sort of like black values from progressive values. I don't always trust white progressives, because they're oftentimes progressive white supremacists. I've coined that term. Like, I've been pushing it out. People have embraced it. White folks are gonna white, right? Like, they're gonna be doing this. Like, we know what's up, and so they're going to do that, right? And so, but I truly believe in my heart that progressivism, progressive values, which is what the Panthers were talking, which is what Angela Davis, any hero we got, in the black community, was always anchored on the left. Let's be very clear about that. Are white lefties always to trust? No. Are they halfway to trust? Probably halfway. But progressivism is pro-black.
So the thing is, with you saying that, my thought in my mind was they co-opted the progressive ideology, and now it's this white, mainly, typically woman in the spectrum of the LGBTQIA2S plus, and that, sir. And it came up, and this maybe can merge us a little bit into.
Oh, the Hoteps is out here like, oh man, they demoted the black man on behalf of the lesbian woman. This is part of the plot. Well, this is part of the plot to queerify your kids. We're out here, baby. We're making moves.
You know what it is? You know what's interesting? I had Counselor Braden on, and it's and we're both part of the same community, and that didn't come up. And while there was a part of me that celebrates, we have to, and you and Rasan helped me with this years ago, about recognizing intentionality of allowing women in general to lead. So we got to, as a woman leading in that space, and as an open queer woman that has some progressive, on the open queer side, that has some progressive values. Mm-hmm. And so, I didn't think so much about that. I just was so hurt when I heard two of our counselors say, Braden, brother, I cringed and literally was like, you know what I mean? And even if I challenge you to go and watch it, because when the clerk, I think the clerk thought Brian had it too, because when the clerk went to Minyard, he didn't go over the numbers twice. He was looking at the paper like he was, all right, let me just make sure that I heard this right. So
but it happens like that. It happens like that. I don't know that was a loss. We need to lift up Black Boston and Black values, which I believe are progressive values. We need to be holding the mayor accountable. And if I could pivot to Liz Breeden, man, I ain't gonna lie, dog. Liz Breeden's dope. A lot of us know her now for 10 years plus. She's sort of organizer, activist in the clinical fucking space. So she's been there. In 19, that was the biggest win ever. Nobody thought that she was going to pull that off. In 2019 in Brighton, she was running against a more conservative cat. And she was even talking about holding the mayor accountable at the time. That was Marty, by the way. So that wasn't easy to do. Yep. And she was dope. And that was actually a big win. And then I've been really dope, like blown away by The Office, dog. She got a black woman in there. She got Wayne up in there. A lot of us know and rock with Wayne from the politics. Asian man, Wayne come out of the Chinese Progressive Association, that whole world. So we rock with Wayne. He's been on the Right to the City vote. So she doing the things. The staff reflect, right? Like you don't necessarily have to have a black staffer if you think you're representing Austin Brighton, right? Like she's been intentional about having people.
She had to, because she had,
in her office.
Yeah, she had to have a black person in there because one of all the stuff that's going on. Two, Boston is a majority of color city, so you need
But if you're a district councilor, your office sort of oftentimes reflects your district.
Absolutely.
And I'm just saying that she has had an office that has been half, if not a couple years, mostly people of color for many years. And
prior to the presidency, for clarity, prior to the presidency,
she just took over the presidency right now. I'm talking 3-4 years ago. Like her office been diverse. And if you look at her vote,
oh, she got Fidelis Way. Hold on. She got Fidelis Way.
You got Fidelis and Faneuil. So
you know
she got 2 bricks in her district, but still, that's 2 bricks. I mean, in D7, you got like 17 bricks in your district, right? So it's still small compared to, right? Like there's only 2 hoods over there like that. But I will say she also always holds the mayor accountable. And that was when it was Marty and Michelle. And here's what gets me mad: when people get on the Boss Polly world and start talking like they're in it, in this political world, like they're operatives, and then the operatives like me don't know you. I'm thinking like, we don't believe you. You need more people, to quote the great Sean Carter. But I've seen people being like, I've seen people being like, oh, like she's the mayor's lackey. Her and Michelle don't even rock with each other. They've been at odds on multiple.
So Calvin, let me back up a little bit, because and a few people have said, Armani commented, Ed Shoemaker commented when I was like, and that gave me some like, okay.
Right.
And someone even said to me that her, being from Ireland and coming from a culture that believes in protocol and things like that. You see, the first thing that she did, and we'll jump back to her, was around the rules in the council. Wednesday's council meeting was interesting. So one of the things okay,
everybody starts with rules, but yeah.
the Sunday night, Enrique, and you need to watch Wednesday, because Sharon said, let's adjourn the meeting. Huh?
Yeah, I read that.
I watched it, and it looked, and then I need to get her and Enrique on here because they need to give an account. Sunday night so Sharon Durkin,
they got her annoyed, and she was out of pocket, right? Like she was obviously annoyed and made that comment. They were obviously, it was a procedural thing. Oh, I haven't read the rules, as if they do that ever. It was like when Republicans had Obamacare and they were like 7,000 pages and no one's read it. Like, any of y'all read anything? Knock that off. But so it was an obvious move early on to smack her up, to like delay something and be like, I haven't read it. And then, when I mean her, I mean the president. And so they're trying to delay and mess with her early. And Sharon got angry and was like, yo, y'all look corny. You ain't even coming here to work. And like, I wouldn't have said that to a colleague, but like they're trying to stall on a parliamentary level.
Well, look at what you just said. That made me think of the three conservative faction. Most of the comments in the beginning was John, Aaron,
right?
And, John, Aaron, and and Ed. And so
trying to hold things up, trying to they're trying to disrupt, and then we get caught in the middle of that.
Well, Aaron had an issue because Sharon basically said that the city councilor showed up to work and not prepared to work. Aaron said, according to
you ain't read it,
Aaron. But if you send, I don't know how many pages it was, but if you send something at 4:42 and John said, so watch it. John said it was a snow day. I had the kids at home, and you emailed this out at 4:42.
The smallest violin ever created for the snow day for your already part-time job. F out of here. F out of here, B. Stop it. Oh, man. He's with the kids so much. Woe is me. Whoop-de-doo. Get out of here, man. People was working some of them days, bro. People was out there, like, knock it off.
Well, there's the Sharon part of yesterday, but let's back it up a little bit to Sunday night before the vote.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear your perspective on this. We come from the days of Mayor Menino. No one became the city council president without some input, some orchestration for term 1 and term 2. I don't know, but by 3 and 4, there's a belief that he garnered the city, whoever he wanted to. And so let's talk about, Carlos and I have talked about this. Michelle's consolidation of power as an unopposed candidate in the general, as who takes a lot of pages out of the Menino book in some ways. As a politician, this is what you're supposed to do. Sure. You're supposed to stack the council. You're supposed to do all of that.
Sure. However, Menino did it. They always try to do it. Sure. Marty did,
And he did, and then, but Menino was the greatest, orchestrator of that, longest serving. So he had the most ability to wield power. So I get that thing as a politician. We understand that the Boston City Charter is written in a manner that the mayor is the most powerful seat, here, and not a lot of accountability with the council. What are your thoughts about the Sunday night with Sharon and Enrique going to Councilor Braden and garnering, this is now our candidate? I said, and it's funny, I said that Sharon and Enrique, and what I wound up saying was, to be nice, was I don't know if they have the skill set to pull that off. And it blends to the thing of what they call him Michelle. I honestly don't believe Michelle orchestrated it, because in October,
I mean, if you're Michelle and you lose, Gigi's out, right? And you're looking at Brian, and he's rocking with these three people that are completely against you, right? Yeah, I think that becomes payback for her. I'm not surprised that Gigi was like, you know what, it ain't gonna be, I'm not surprised that anybody was like, we don't want it to be that clique. Not because of Brian,
not because of
not trusting the black man. Not trusting the white man, actually. The two white men and the white woman, they weren't trusting them. It wasn't about Brian. And when people say, I've heard people say, like, oh, you're insinuating he's beholden. You get 7 votes. One of them's your own. 3 of them are coming from that clique. Ain't no way he's about to.
He would have been right.
They're not getting nothing. They're just going to get blanked. They're going to give you their vote and get nothing.
It would, but if he would have got Henry and Ruthsey, that would have been his faction to fight the other 3, because it would have been him, Ed, Aaron, John, and then Ruthsey, Henry. Who else voted for Brian?
But I don't know that they've even all been aligned. I don't know that aligned. I don't know that Brian and Ruthsey are that aligned in their politics. I just don't know that they're that aligned. I think ideology. And then the mayor is played a bigger role here than people want to say, I think, honestly, because that was a very conservative coalition. When you add those 3 people to it, even having Julia and when you add those 3 people to it, that's a 3 out of the 7. Julia, that's almost 40%. 3 out of the 7. That's a conservative coalition. That's the fact, right? And so that was a big thing. Now let's transition to the mayor, because that's why I said the first word was flex, right? Like,
so in that, give also your thoughts, if you don't mind, about that Sunday night with Sharon and Enrique, with the mayor and Enrique.
I think they were figuring out what's the way to keep him out, right? And then, like, she became the person. Can't be somebody too close to the mayor. Can't be, and she's a perfect person, because, like I said earlier, and people who didn't know, like, oh, this is the mayor's lackey. She holds the mayor hella accountable. And, the mayor was even briefly running against her at one point, 2 years ago. So, like, they have not been in alignment. They're in alignment in values. And that's what we need to start doing. Being in alignment in our values, not just our identities, while uplifting our people, but our values have to be in alignment.
So this leads, and maybe transition a little bit to P3. That leads to, when you talk about morals and values, they display themselves in your budget and in what you promote for policy, your home rule petitions and things like that. It's surprising now let's talk about P3, because when you say values, one of the biggest things that people that don't like the mayor, or in some cases more of late that are friends with the mayor, but are kind of sitting back like, at what value are you placing the Black community's economic development, decrease of the racial wealth gap? How you move in policy around that, I believe, is an indicator of your values. As you're smiling. Calvin.
I just mean that in the P3 thing, and I think the mayor's wrong on this. And that's what I'm saying. We need to be able to call her out. You're wrong. And if you asked me 6 months ago, and I still stand on it today, there was no question who was better for my people in Boston between her and Josh Kraft.
Yes, absolutely.
Stand
by that all day
I
long.
walk with you on that because I want you to win this race.
Yes.
And the second you do F stuff, I'm calling it out. That's what we need to be able to do. Call her out. Don't be scared, man. So many.
And let's make it plain too. And I had to say this yesterday because somebody, a young man, is coming up, and the word was used in the comment, attack. And I understood what he was saying. The energy that's needed to be like, hey, no. But they also, and she has to also understand that accountability does not mean attack. I said yesterday, we view ourselves as a partner that just felt like we wasn't called to the table. And so can I ask you, someone that worked with Chuck, and Carlos had named something of Chuck in here. Shout out to Chuck Turner, pressuring all counselors to diversify staff back in 03. So that
people had no staff of color. Shout out to somebody who's always been sort of dope on that issue, is Rob Consalvo. So I got to give him a shout out, and then shout out to Flaherty, because ironically he hired Carlos back in the day, and we were on a site visit. Ironically, with Chuck was bringing some of the commissioners through the hood to do some like quality of life stuff, and ironically Carlos was there, right? Because Julio was there. Shout out to the OG, man. Rest in power. And at that, Carlos was talking to Flaherty. He was like, yo, man, I need to hire somebody out here. Like, what do you think? So that whole thing happened there. It was such a cool thing. And Chuck sort of put that together. Wow. Beautiful. And then all of a sudden, counselors were on pressure. Once they, Rob had done it. Once they saw Mike do it, they were like, oh, and then all of a sudden people start popping up with the, random staff members.
Yes, they should.
Shout out to that. Shout out to that, man. Shout out to that.
So with the piece of P3, when you said that, and I believe the mayor allowing that to expire without bringing them brothers back to the table, I haven't said wrong, but I said that there's the only resolve is that you make the Madison and a scaled down, less biotech, my city at peace. The only resolve that she has is to make it work. You got to bring them back to the table and figure it out. Yeah. Roxbury deserves a stellar, high-end new education facility along with affordable housing, the Embrace Cultural Center, and we need that.
And the lab jobs. I saw Reverend Brown on. I love what they were talking about with like the home ownership. I'm with it. Like, I'm with it. What I think people are not talking about is that there's a lot of politics here that are inside politics with some of the people early on that are a part of the redevelopment. I'm thinking about Richard. I'm thinking about, some of the people involved in that weren't rocking with Michelle in that first race and have had sort of a
one of them got ready to run.
Right. Some they were, some of them were accused of being a little flirtatious with Josh Kraft. So I think there's politics involved. I think that's wrong. I still think that's wrong. I don't like playing the hood against each other on like but I'm gonna do a school. It's gonna be the Mel King, Huey Newton, Chuck Turner school, right? Like, I don't care. Like, this isn't cool what you're doing. So I don't like this. But to go back to this whole thing on sometimes attack versus defend, always gotta be holding people accountable, but we always got to know and be smart enough and savvy enough not to let ourselves be used to attack someone. So Obama had a bunch of things that he did wrong, and never was I going to roll with, let's say, a Republican attack from an angle obviously designed to undermine him. And then now I'm rocking with that. And we do that way too much, and that needs to stop.
Absolutely.
And we think that it's so binary. I wasn't with Michelle in 21. I didn't love the way she came in voting against Ayanna. I said that last year. It was no question for me on whether she needed to be the mayor against Josh Kraft. If it would have been somebody else, maybe it's a different story. But against Josh Kraft, that wasn't even a question. So I'm always thinking about the hood and harm reduction in politics, never about what makes me. And I see people that are resentful. For instance, it's sad, people that are resentful of Michelle over another race now being like, I'm going to vote for Josh. I'm going to vote for a more conservative person. It's like, where are your values? And do they stop at where your own identity is, right? Like, are you... am I pro-Latino because of the Latino thing? But then you can't see a pro-Black angle. You can't see a pro-woman angle. I can't see a pro-queer angle. We got to go beyond that. Our solidarity can't stop at like where our exact interests are. And I see a lot of people in the Black and Latino community in Boston. You get a little bit of money, and then all of a sudden, y'all becoming Black moderates out here. I can't wait to see some of these people be the first like pro-black, pro-woman Republican running in Boston. That's coming up in like another year and a half, bro. With some of these people, it's like
it's so one thing, Uncle. I just wanted to clarify. It's not that I can't. It's just that I haven't actually, as Calvin said, the word wrong. Well, the wrong decision would be to allow Madison to happen and push the economic development of black. This is, for me, Calvin, similar to what I said about Brian and the city council presidency. All that, Michelle's a mayor. Education is one of the things. Mayor Menino said in 93 or 94 when he won, and then whatever, education would be his test of his mayoralship.
Unfortunately failed. Rest in power, King, but like what a disaster that was. What a disaster the schools became and the system of the school committee being appointed. No, but he was great. Like, God bless him. And this is what we have to be able to do. I didn't rock with him as me. I can show mad respect to the family. I would never disrespect. But like, that's the things that we got to be able to do. Push and take. Like,
well, see,
that was wrong.
This brings up another point that someone that I will not name said to me some years ago, that it's interesting because with white men, you sometimes can tap into some, it varies for some, their level of white guilt. So you tend to be able to get, because if I don't, they're going to call me a racist. And our administration at present, with someone that identifies as a woman of color, we don't have that to be able to, it's just the observation. And so I to P3, when you talk about the politics inside the politics, I just believe that even with her, and in fairness, nobody has the purview that Michelle has between BPDA, budget, Dion and facilities and all that. That's fine. But when you talk and bringing this back to morals and values, there's a presumption based on what we've heard the past few years, and especially in the last year. And we got to mention our good brother, Brother Sagun, because I think for me, he was what I call the trifecta of a gut punch to Black Boston. And so I often said, Calvin, and you know this, if you're committed to the Black community, one of the ways it is displayed is in their economic come up. You if you're not for the Black community, you're not going to do anything that allows more Black economic development, I would think. And so, there was that. Did you shake your head? Because I got to watch some time. Oh, okay.
No.
Make sure, because I know your expressions.
No.
The trifecta, of Shagun said this in the paper, and he said it to me because he said, James, you my brother, but you also media. I said, Shagun, did P3, because we knew Shagun wasn't going to do a whole second term. We knew that. I said, Shagun, did P3 expedite your departure date? And it definitely, and we have to, and I said it yesterday, and we have to hold space, and you can feel free to share any condolences. I know that the other thing he said was, James, I don't want to be sitting here and my grandmother passes, but it is, he said it. I will neither deny nor confirm that P3 expedited my date. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I really do think it was hella anchored in like personal life, right? Like, I don't know that it was that much. I think it was probably an extra thing of like, oh, great, I don't have to deal with that. But I do think that it was anchored on Grandmom Dukes, man, and mad love to that. And Shagun's a good brother. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. I helped him in 2018, man, when he ran for state rep. It's like, people, we got to stop being shook and seeing these brothers, man, these young brothers. I think of Shagun, I think of Armani. Like, when they're stepping up, I just want to be there to help these dudes. Yeah. I literally just want to help. These cats are dope and are amazing and are the next generation of it. And I just
yes, they're not at Chuck and Mel yet, but as we support them, and sometimes, because all the people you in the past had to call me in on accountability and certain things, and so we support. Sure. We call in, we hold accountable, we suggest, and then we keep pushing. And when there is either a disagreement or something, we have that what was it called, the family meeting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about, so we'll close this little part with this, is how do you think Black Boston is feeling right now?
There's an interesting thing that's happening. I think we see the violence reduction. It just was in my mind right before where you have these reductions in crime. A lot of cities are seeing this. A lot of cities are seeing this where the numbers are wildly down from 20 years ago, right? Wildly down from 20, but still it's not felt enough on a local level. Even though it's such a fraction of what it was before, it is not felt enough, right? And that's a big deal. And I also think that one thing I see, man, there's two things that are interesting that are sort of in-home issues. Is one, the solidarity from the brown community, from the Latino community. And that has to be huge on that. And right, like, you know, Dominicans in Boston been coming up. They got Julia, they got Henry, they got Enrique. Like, so it's like, where's the solid, like how much, and I'm not questioning any of their three solidarity. I'm saying in general, in cities that are seeing this, I got to call out where like Latino populations continue to rise and Black populations are actually shrinking, right? Brockton, Lynn, Poppin, young Black Boston is out. They're like, so expensive to live here. Y'all racist as hell. You've been racist with my parents. Why would I be here and not go to Atlanta, go to DC, go to New York and live really good? I know a lot of people young living good, young, urban, professional lives in these towns and said goodbye to Boston. You know what I mean? So I think like, where is that solidarity? And what do we do on crime? Like, where does this, how do we promote better? I think, unfortunately, like, you know, even if those things aren't even talked about.
Well, the thing is, at present, you know, we are one of these, I ain't going to say safest. We are one of the safest semantics there.
For several years, not like a fluke, but like, yo, bro, we remember, Jimmy, because you and I were in it, Carlos. In the early 2000s, we were getting close to 100 bodies. Mm-hmm. We had, you know what I mean? What was this? Pastor Wall was out here shaking on the corner, talking about.
And he had the big, the wall. Remember the wall he had in Chez Veuve of all the names, and every time you went to Chez Veuve, you needed to see if your last boy or your last girl got updated, you know, on the wall. At present, the numbers are much higher than they were a year ago. My fear, Calvin, we know that in a shaky economy, along with ICE, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on immigration. And also, I want to dig a little bit deeper into the diaspora because there's the term of foundational Black Americans, and then there's a lot of pushback from FBAs. There's a lot of interesting commentary about our immigrant brothers and sisters who come at will or forced. And so I before we move on, I want to thank you for naming as a Latino brother that identifies as Black and Latino and whatnot. Like, you get it. Early on, people like Malia and I were saying that what was going on with our immigrant brothers and sisters was the quickest legal way that will easily get us back to a stop and frisk time for Black people. How do we name
and some of these Black moderates would be down with that. Some of the newer Black and Latino moderates and conservatives of Boston, some of the people that were rocking with Josh Kraft would be down with that. Some of the people that are co-signing the Murphys and the Flynn's are sort of down with that. And they take this very conservative view. You know what I mean? Like, we got to be able to call that out.
I'm going to use this term, and we could surmise it as the Black Boston elitists. You remember that term that has come up like in the past and whatnot? I remember when I moved to Fort Hill, Frank Fowler was like, "Uh-oh, you done came part of." No, I didn't. Carlos, what is it? I'm sorry, Calvin. What is it going to take? We had Trump 1. We had COVID. We got, Ronald Dump 2. In the diaspora, in our exercise power, what is it going to take for us to get it?
I think people are getting more now than before. I see some positivity even in all the heartache that we're going through right now. I'm seeing people, number one, I'm seeing folks that could have been divided, by the trick, the little okey doke of like black versus immigrant, that would have been divided by that are less divided by that now. By the way, when you try to separate those, when like Haitian and Cape Verdean immigrants and Somali immigrants in Boston are so vulnerable right now, like stop playing. That's just huge. So I'm liking that. I'm liking things like the Luce Network. I hear Dorchester Hub is doing their thing, right? Dorchester Hub doing their thing. So people are building networks that create community resiliency outside of government, and I think that's positive for us. Ironically, it's so sad when these things work, they become real social tipping points. Like look at the backlash on ICE after you murdered them people. Right. And by the way, they murdered like 17 people before.
And when the white man,
those two really struck them.
No, because let's keep it 100, Calvin. It was a white woman and a white man. Let's just
sure, but I thought one of theirs that got killed before was white, but still, these I think yes, that always happens, right? Like in the white, you're in the sunlight, right? When you're black, they could go to the back. Like that's how they do with those kind of things. We know that, but I just mean that the shooting this woman in the face, executing this dude on the ground, like those
when they took the gun.
Right. Those are social tipping points. They end up helping us, ironically, right? Like, the sacrifices, but all of a sudden you see this ICE backlash where like now polling numbers are flopping on ICE. People are like, whoa, y'all are out of control. And people are outside. Now you got the governor jumping. Look, she just did this executive order. She's filing bills. The state house is moving right now. They're like, whoa, what can we do? So state houses are doing that all over the country. So ironically, these events that are horrific events become social tipping points that end up helping something. And those can happen on both sides, right? If somebody goes into a church, you go into a church and you shoot up the people at the church, right? You make the case for like gun reform and yada, yada. If someone were like, yo, on behalf of Black Lives Matter, I'm going to kidnap cops and do things to them, I'd be like, oh my God, you're going to hurt us. Don't do that. Like that's going to help the backlash. You're going to kill that one cop that killed other people. And then he's going to be a martyr and a hero. And you're going to make new laws that make it awful for us. So we got to be moving with strategy. You know what I mean?
Okay. Let's, our politics are local. Tip said this years ago. We talk about strategy. There's a conversation. And I'd love to know the folks behind Mass Coalition for Community Impact, because entity names are cool, but I need to know who those individuals are. But they're talking about the fact that, but the disrespect for Black Boston is insane. And so I want to kind of go back. I don't know if you gave an answer because we talk about so much. I inhale and I'm also 54. Did you say how Black Boston feels?
I think there's a feeling of betrayal.
Okay.
I feel that. At least that's what I feel from the people I'm in community with. Betrayal.
What got me was, and I passed on to the administration, if me, you, Carlos, Darren, Remy, other folks, if we're debating in here, we're operatives, we're pundits, we're involved. What lets me know is when Joe Schmo, every day, not as engaged, not as out there with the operatives and whatnot, when that stuff starts to trickle out from everyday voters and whatnot, I'm like, oh. And some of they didn't understand the process and whatnot. All they saw was the Black man didn't get elected. All they're hearing about is P3. And all they're hearing about is the young man that I used to prop up for Black economy is gone. That's a trifecta that really feels like
although, I mean, gone is a big word. Shagun is about to do dope stuff wherever he goes.
No. But
to elevate to a higher level. I see people like Armani. And I see people even in the elected space. When you think of naming a few, Rusi, Brandy, Liz Miranda, Lydia Edwards, rockin'. Them people rockin'. Like I see them real rocking and rolling in the building, impactful. Brandy's wilding. Her colleagues respect her, right? Like that. Like she's kind of wilding, doing good stuff. Liz Miranda balling, and then and here it's just an interesting balling out. Lydia balling.
First of all, Lenny and I had an interesting exchange about the council presidency at the inauguration. I was like,
yo, I'm glad we even said Lydia, because I gotta say, man, shout out to Eastie. First of all, I moved to Eastie in 2004. I remember my baby mom was pregnant and we were looking for an apartment, and this was when Boston was going crazy. I remember JP was like $1,250, 2-bedroom, heat, hot water included. Imagine that today, right? But this is 04. And we were like, damn, we can't, like over 12, like we couldn't do. Roxbury was going crazy. South End was going crazy. We find Eastie $950, 2-bedroom, heat, hot water included. We're like, oh, we jump on this in 04, right? Because we were broke. I'm working for Chuck. She working at Teen Empowerment. We're broke. So we're in the nonprofit broke activist space and shit, right?
City Hall and Teen Empowerment, Lord Jesus.
Right. We were so broke. So we live in the Eastie. So I immediately get on my community organizer-ish, right? Like I'm looking around for who the activists in town. And I immediately meet this dude, Chris, who in 04 was like a part of the pushback. Like his parents were involved, moms was involved, and he was like the local, progressive white dude in the hood, right? Like doing the work. So I rock with him in 2005 and 6. We're working for Deval Patrick. Right, we're trying to get Deval election. We're like the East Boston clique. And you know who could co-sign this? Dave Halbert was there. Me, Dave Halbert, Glorabel Mota, Chris Coletta. We were rocking for DP in East Boston. Is
that Gabrielle's brother?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I met her as this kid, right, whose older brother was solidified doing the good work. Family come from it, doing the good work, and that's who that person has been. And when Lydia comes on the scene and is about to run for state senate, right? I want to say this is late 2013. Gigi rocks with her. It would have been so easy just to be one of the multiple people from the district. You even had the Italian dude from right there in Winthrop. He was scooping up East Boston support. Lydia did what people be scared to do, which is try to take a Senate seat that isn't Diane Wilkerson's, right? That isn't the one that's like in the hood, right? Try to take a Senate seat that wasn't, and Gigi's still with her. So, and in 2017, when she lost, when she lost and she ran in 2017 for city council, doing again what we're all scared to do, which is run for a city council district and flip one that isn't District 4 or District 7, right? And like now we've done District 5, we flipped a couple, but like back in the day, we didn't touch nothing that wasn't District 4 and District 7. So Lydia went to do that, and Gigi was with it. And the only reason I bring all that up is because I have been so hurt by how this young woman has been talked about during this council presidency, how she took the L and is being seen and has been portrayed. And I think that has been
talking about Gigi.
I'm talking about Gigi because this has literally been a young woman who has been anchored, progressive when it wasn't easy. She didn't grow up in Roxbury where it's easy to do that. Progressive when it was hard, progressive around white folk, progressive around your family and your neighbors. And helping the Lydia Edwards over the other people in the Senate race was big. Helping her for city council over the Italian dude from the North End was big. So I gotta say, like, put some respect on that young goddess's name. Gotta put some respect on it.
No disrespect, but Calvin, I value your perspective, in this space, and so it does carry some weight. Curtis, if you could clarify, because I did learn that our cast going out is 17 seconds behind, and we're probably 2 minutes behind your comment. But Curtis, if you could clarify what you meant about apples and oranges, and then Calvin, you've seen it. We're much more hospitable now and whatnot. But there was some times where I was on Lydia's back because there were some votes that were perceived that they were not pro-Black Boston, and some things, and so
it budget vote.
Huh?
Was this the police budget vote?
There was a couple. I gotta go back on Twitter.
I'm surprised by that.
Oh no, God, me and Lydia.
The police department one. The police budget one I remember was a one.
The brick, because when Gigi was getting ready to when she had her hat in with the votes, the number one thing that was in my inbox was her vote on the brick. She went with the brick. A lot. I think it was Henry too. I think
so. And you know what? I disagree with those, but I think 99.9% of the time, Lydia's a beast. Let me tell you.
She is a political beast, and I got it. It's all
more done. Lydia's impactful up there. Honestly, when I think about the state legislature, because a lot of people do the like local political operative thing, right? And they're like not really operatives, but in the state house, seeing her move, she's impactful, on like a Diane at her peak impactful. Diane was alone. But first of all, even though the OG been wilding, shout out to Diane Wilkerson. I love you. At the peak of her, Diane was there by herself, doing amazing work, and she was hella impactful. Anyone that knows in the mid 2000s how impactful Diane was, and how so many of the nonprofit EDs all came from her office. Like, she'd bring people in, show you the ropes, show you the game, you know what I mean, work you to death, halfway to death, because some people left there battered, but work you halfway to death, and then they all rose to do ill stuff. They nonprofit here, ED there, secretary here, this CEO there. So shout out to her. But Lydia's impactful on that level. If I'm being completely honest with y'all, she's a beast up there. They respect her a lot up there. She moves up there like she moved on the council. And if you saw her move on the council, she moves with tact, strategy. She's fast and furious. She organizes her stuff. Lydia, I think, honestly, is an example of one of the most amazing politicians I know, honestly. Just in like the way she moves, fast, furious. Yo, the Senate president loves her. Catch the Senate president talking about her in some place and see what the Senate president will tell you about her.
The Senate president in some ways are interesting. Taxes, Boston property taxes.
Sure.
Yeah.
You see those two races happening too, man. Nick Collins and Will Brownsberger.
So Nick Collins, I believe, is going to have a black woman contender.
Mm-hmm.
And then
what Curtis say? Where can I see it? Is this live like on your feed right now?
It's live on my feed, and I wish I could have clicked where you can see the comments, but just turn the volume down and go to James W. Hills or Java, and you should be able to see the comments. But Curtis said that when he said apples and oranges regarding where it I wanted to make this point that Curtis is making, and we went to other stuff. He said where it will land, and the women mentioned during the work and earning the seats, his loss and their gains equal a nutshell. Okay, regarding where it will land, and women mentioned during the work and earning the seat. Okay, he's saying apples and oranges. Another point I wanted to make with Sagun was he's going to be fine, but will Black Boston be? Because Sagun,
I think what he does will end up being amazing for Black Boston.
So I broke the news on December 3rd, 2021 that Sagun was going in. What people in City Hall need to be very afraid of around whatever Sagun goes and does this, and I'm in a passion place. This dude has had 4 years of City Hall experience, and God forbid if he ever got to come back at.
Yeah. I hope he one day is in a public service, man. He ran for state rep in 2018. He lost, but he ran a good fight against somebody very conservative.
Yeah, very much so. For a first-time candidate, like
right. And
but my thing is, Calvin, I don't know if you've seen the interviews with Tanya Anderson. My caffeine is kicked in, Jesus. I don't know if you've seen the interview with Tanya Anderson, but she said something that it rocked my world a little bit, because she kept she gave a lot of experiential opinion about her dealings on the council. And she made a statement that almost crushed me. She said, Jimmy, I don't know if in the hall and in the state house is the best way to get, it wasn't her exact words, but to get things moving. I used to be afraid of policy. Then something happened. And my understanding is the way we get equity, the way we change the laws is through not City Hall, but through government. And it was kind of like because she came on and she just laid it all out about city council, and we're seeing it. What are your thoughts there about when you said Sagun, you hope he gets in public service? I'm like, I don't know. He might be better on the outside.
I know. I just wanted a couple years of it. He would have been dope, man. He would have been dope.
Yeah.
But like, I think whatever he does is good. First of all, shout out to Tanya. I adore Tanya. Helped her in both races. And adore her. Thought what happened to her was hella shady, by the way. I thought
I
thought the way they stepped to her was shady, and I held space for her in the immediate aftermath. I still have to say with that, I wish she took some time before diving into the stuff. I think there should have been a glazing. Okay, good. So I understand the word. I was trying to explain that word glazing recently, and then, I gotta call him where I see him, man. I'm in there with him. Like, I see how people move and who's
disrespected, Calvin, as I said,
dead weight, and then who is, what I mean, rocking and rolling. Let me tell you,
it means a lot coming from you. There's quite a few brothers that I have come up with in this space that was, you were in City Hall before. I think, yeah, I came in after you, Darren.
I was there. Yeah, we were
Carlos was already there. And
I don't think Darren was already there.
Darren
was not there.
I came in, but the thing
when you came in, I was working for Chuck and Carlos was working for Mike. But when Darren came in was 06, like the middle of 06, because he took my job. I went to Felix and he came to Chuck.
I went to Menino
and I think you were already with Menino.
No. I went to Menino in 7. So Darren was there. But the funny thing was, y'all was on the other side.
Right.
And that's where Carlos came up with City Hall Hills. But your perspective, Calvin, that's why
she got Lydia, by the way, just to clarify for Curtis too. I gotta admit, I mean, it's not too much of a promo thing, but she got housing chair. You know what I mean? Like
Senate
2 years. Yeah, she had gotten housing chair. Then they passed the bond bill, which had some dope-ish in there, the housing bond bill, and she shepherded that through, and then now is a chair of judiciary. And I see her and her staffer. She has a staffer, a black woman, who's her legislative director, and they were doing marathon hearings, wilding on policy, like actually beasting. And the recent policies, some of the stuff that they just pulled out the other day, the Black and Latino Caucus. A lot of she be writing a lot of. Lydia's she's on a different
I'm
level.
interested to see when because I know they go black brown on the caucus, and I guess they do it by tenure or seniority about the leadership of the caucus. What are your thoughts?
I think she skipped a few people from the class right before her. That's what I'm saying. You can tell when somebody gets higher things even than people right after.
Oh, when you get your appointments. What floor is her office on?
Yeah. She's on 4. But getting housing chair was the biggest deal ever. That was huge for somebody early on. And then getting judiciary now is huge. So I just there's people of color that can go into the state house and just blend into the wall. You don't know them. I don't see them. They not getting nothing for the hood. They just out here talking to themselves. Sometimes I be seeing people. I give them instructions on how to get around a building. You don't even know your way around here. Let me tell you how you get to the other side of the first floor. And then there's the people that are wild movers and shakers. Sam Montano's a wild mover and shaker.
I've heard that
Andy's
name.
A wild mover.
Andy Vargas.
Andy Vargas, a wild mover and shaker. He just put together. He's a chair of the Latino.
Right. That's why I asked.
Young dude, he just put together that event. Very promising, like beast.
Okay, Calvin, I there's the respect there, not just because I know you, but I know what you do, and I know from where you come as far as City Hall, now State House and whatnot, and so it does lend to the respect of what you're saying. I'll ask you. It's 11:06, and I got a 12 o'clock show. I need a break. For those of you,
and I gotta say, because I saw somebody text me like that they love this person. I don't know this person running against Brownsburger that Michelle's rocking with, right? And this is to
who is it?
Damn it, what's his last
Where's
name?
Brownsburger? Where is he in the state of Mississippi?
He has Austin, Brighton, and then some Cambridge and some Watertown and Belmont. So Belmont, Watertown, Cambridge, Austin, Brighton, right?
So Michelle's going to mess around with
going against him for the property tax thing, and she's going to get Nick for the same thing. Nick got LaToya Gale running against him. Whatever. Nick, I don't interact with a lot more. He has more conservative politics than my politics. Again, I'm an ideological person. I see progressivism as harm reduction. I see it as the path, and I stand anchored in that. With Brownsburger, his challenger is a lot more progressive also, but he's a lot more progressive than Nick Collins is. And I'll just admit to the person who just texted me like, yo, I have a soft spot for Brownsburger, and it's probably wrong, but I'll just admit this bias. As a young man growing up in Boston, running the hood, going back and forth to jail, starting at like age 13 in 1998, I always thought that I would die or rot in Walpole jail.
Yep.
We closed Walpole. We passed criminal justice
reform. You say we, be specific, Brownsburger?
The Jobs Not Jails Coalition. And I remember
Calvin, you go way back.
Yeah, and you came to the stuff when we pushed out Dan Conley, by the way, from some of those actions we did that you remember in 2017. And so that year when we were doing that, Will Brownsburger was the lead sponsor of the bills that was an all-out attack on the fees, the fees associated with what you owe, the court fee, the probation fee. He went on and all that. He held the flag for.
I've heard his name in very positive lights in the past, and so is he brown or black or brown?
No, he's not. He's white.
Oh, okay. To hear him, white
queer man, white queer OG.
to hear him so associated with Nick Collins, you know, it was a red flag for me. But I got him confused with somebody.
He's way progressive though. Nick Collins is your average moderate conservative. I mean, Nick Collins voted against driver's license for immigrants.
Nick Collins has had a lot of interesting policies. He's brought me to the state house. I was the first man ever to wear a hat. Actually, I think it was this one in the chamber per the protocol person. That is all fine. But I think to take it back to what you said earlier, for me, an elected's morals and values are demonstrated in their policy. And while we may not have 100% of shared morals and values, if I observe more benefits of your morals and values than risk for our community, I can rock with you. And so Nick is very interesting because the racial, Calvin, have you sensed there's something with this? P3 is a facade, is a face of generations, decades of lack of, or when we have it, limited Black economic development. Do you feel that something's different with a bubbling of a sentiment of Black Boston? Do you feel that there's an energy that's just waiting to be properly organized? No, I won't say properly. Waiting to be organized in an impactful, sustainable manner. Let me frame it like that.
I hope so. One thing I see, and part of why I said betrayal earlier when you said how the Black community feels, whenever I talk to Black friends from Boston, it's always oh snap, you live in Lynn. Oh snap, you moved to Brockton. Oh snap, you moved to Lynn. Oh snap, you moved to Brockton. Brockton and Lynn are getting this whole Black Boston diaspora, man. And it's sad. I'm the same way. I'm in Central Mass. I'm in one of the Bury towns. I'm in a little suburb. I got me a little shed. I'd be scared to go back there because, you know, Jason Voorhees and all that. I'm a hood kid, but I got a shed. I don't need to go back there. The fact that I got one makes me feel good. But I think here's where we got to get to. When I first got involved, October 2002, and this is when I started to make the transition from street kid to political kid. I remember I went to this meeting and they were creating this coalition called Who's Boston, which became Right to the City Vote, which is Right to the City Vote right now. And Mel King was there and he laid it down and he was telling us we have to start laying claim to property. Takeover, community takeover. We own this property, and shout out to Chuck Turner because Chuck was one of them people that would jump in the ditch. Nah, y'all ain't building shit. Right? Like, arrest me if you're going to build up in here. I'm jumping in your ditches, right? Remember, think about Turbo and Ozone. Think about breakers, man. We out here breakdancing on your damn construction equipment. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be out here doing the thing. But I think we got to get to that place of like nothing else is going to go here. Here's how I know nothing else is going to go here. Because whenever anything tries to come here, it will be shut down. Right? Community control outside of what government can do. No, we know there's a whole rules and procedures. Here's why we don't care about the rule and procedure, because I'm going to shut the project down.
See,
I actually don't care about what the BPDA says. I don't care about how the mayor feels. I don't care about the legal ramifications or zoning.
We come in and someone called me an old head recently and whatnot. I get it, but we come from rearing in a generation where team unity and our activists and advocates did not play. And I don't know. Here's a couple of things. Some of us was not passed the baton. With that, I think some of us decided not to seek it, and then some of us attempted to take it. I'm one of the ones that said, let me sit back because I don't want to be reaching for the baton while Shagun, Darian, what's the brother's name? Reynolds.
Yeah.
I considered myself a middler, so I stepped off. The energy, the Calvin, is it because there wasn't intention? You remember Manny Tickley? He was with Project Right for a while. He was with BMA. Lori Nelson.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So he said to me one day, we were talking about intentional succession. And he said, James, you can't have intentional succession without intentional relationships. Chuck did it Chuck got a successor, a couple of them. You, Darren,
Tito.
we'll talk offline.
Oh, yo, the skinny beef, the like new skinny guy beef is amazing. I can't wait to hear of this.
We were so glad to have Calvin Feliciano with us today.
Y'all need to have the skinny, y'all. Yo, Tito, we on your bumper, dog. I see you out here with them blazers. You got the R&B Motown blazer, like you bringing it back. But my guy Jimmy's on your bumper. No, I love what you saying. I know we're over time. My apologies. But I love what you saying. Succession's important, and I don't want to diss the queen. Because I went to a funeral. I was really sad. I've known Gloria Fox for a long time. And I love her, and it was hard. We were in hella community, like in community. Like when you can hang out and drink with Gloria, you're in community, like in community, like the goddess.
No. When you're in community, and then she said, "I need you to drop me off."
deep community. But I will say two things that some of us called out at the time was one, why was Demarius Stokes never sort of like, we all saw him as like, right? We saw him as like, yo, this is going to be the dude right after Gloria, but then it just seemed like it never appeared. And then I got to give mad shout out to Pops, to Eric Estevez, yes, man, who ran, and that would have been the perfect time to be like, yo, I'm down to mentor you. I'm down to rock with you.
City council.
He ran for state rep. He ran against Gloria. And it was the time to be like, yo, I'm gonna mentor you. I'm gonna help. And instead it was like, I'm pounding this dude out. If you hire him, you're my ops. Right. And he's lucky because she wasn't one of the reps, all due respect, that had a lot of juice up in there. Right. Like, so he's lucky as to who it was. Right. If that were Diane Wilkerson, you fired and your parents' lights get cut off. Right. Like Diane was entrenched. And like, so he's lucky at who it was. But that was the vibe, and that can't be the vibe. And I'm all for respecting elders. I'm 40. I'm getting there. I adore them. I respect them. I just told you how I feel about Will Brownsberger because of the wars we've been through together. Him holding a flag on something I find near and dear to my heart. We have to be able to both do that and respect them, and also say put some respect on these young people out here wilding. And when I see them, when I see the Alejandra Tejada, the Malachi, when I see the Armani, the Shogun, when I see these, I'm like, yo, we need to embrace these cats and find ways for them. And if that means someone got to go, so I'm like, know when your time is up. I'm so sad to see these 90-year-old corpses running for re-election. It's so sad. I'm honestly so saddened by it. Like, you know, I know people who can't let it go. You can make $250,000 in retirement and go to Orlando, Florida, and here you are in the damn snow because you can't let it go. It's sad. It's sad. And I love seeing people like Pat Jalen's retiring this year. She's a from Somerville. She's been dope. Yep. Pat's been dope, and has rode for progressive.
You know Rachel Clinton?
Yeah. I know. I love Rachel. Shout out to Rachel. She's watching.
Rachel Clinton used to be. She used to hold me together a lot, and I just couldn't afford her no more. But shout out to
high maintenance now. She high maintenance now.
But shout out to Keys. Now I wonder if Rachel would do that. Probably not. Rachel's like, yeah, no, I'm not.
I don't think she lives in the district.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kenya, not 90-year-old corpses. You know, the succession that I was saying intentional succession with intentional relationship. That is where Calvin, I'm not going to say this publicly, and I'll say it to you on the phone. Well, I'll say it like this. We did not have an entity that could knock on the 5th floor about P3. Where is it?
Who was gonna make the knock? You're saying who was gonna?
I would have even preferred to text you and been like,
"You mean one of Richard's? You mean one of Richard's ranty emails wouldn't have done the job?"
Which Richard?
Richard, Money Richard.
Is Carlos still on? I'm mixing both of y'all's names.
Not Little Richard, but yeah. Richard, who likes to email. Remember he did that email with Andrea Campbell. She should just drop out the race. I'm like, bro, that was the worst thing you could have said.
Listen,
like
I would have rather text you and said Calvin X, Y, and Z that went to the mayor's office and shut down P3 didn't have enough reach back to say, hey, you know, you want to be a part of this? Do you want to, post to social media about a letter and whatnot? I would have had rather there been a siloed entity that could have just said, hey, come back to the table. You're not going to let this de-designation go. And one of the things that Carlos said is there aren't many consequences for this administration.
Right. Well,
And
to the point of flexing, when you just bodied this man in a prelim, my goodness, that was embarrassing. I can be a little more forceful now because the election's over. People that I love that worked for Josh Kraft obviously don't work for him no more, and they haven't been there in a while. But what a masterclass in running a poor campaign. Like, that was literally, we need to train people on what not to do by what Josh Kraft did. Campaign did. Well, I need to train people on what not to do. But so when you smoke somebody like that, so much so that you get a free pass in the general, yeah, you walk in and guess what? Balls is hanging. What y'all talking about?
Hold on. Before we get, hold on. Stop. Calvin.
Wow.
Before we get in trouble of equating kahunas with a woman.
That's true. That was a hood term. My apologies.
Yep. I get it, but you know the trolls would what. Anybody that knows
that's our power phase though. So she flexes. She like, I can
sort of, as politicians do. But my thing is when you're.
But she don't know. Here's my big critique. She don't know when to give it up. Menino was super smart. I've seen Menino attempt something and then speak out against the attempted thing. Like, I've literally seen my man, like, they do like BPA, you know, like what is it? BHA is gonna do this thing, and then everyone's like, the hood hates it. It's like, oh, okay, there's the mayor and his aides rallying against it, but like, it's literally y'all policy. Because he was smart. He didn't have the ego of like, here's when I need to back off. Right. So Michelle struggles with that. That's why he couldn't back off White Stadium, even though that should look worse and worse. And that's why, you know, in this situation, you do something which is, here's what this looks like: a political get back. I just got it. I can be a little petty. Y'all was rocking with I'm gonna shut your project down, calling it a pipe dream. I'm not even worried about
here's the thing that can't be a political get back. Reverend Jeffrey Lamont Brown took his ass to DC with her, was in the inaugural video, and is these lower numbers of violence. He was a part of that back over at 10-Point Coalition and all that, walking the streets and doing all that other stuff. So I get what you're saying, but there's an element in your political get back that is being scarred. Sure. And with all due respect, beyond Rev and beyond Michelle, making this the right way politically set you being the person that garnered the stellar education edifice, focusing largely on Black economic development in Roxbury, your legacy set. If that's the desired legacy.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. I loved your question too. Is Parcel 3 the new sort of like Southwest Corridor? Like, is this on that level?
It got cleared because of the corridor, so I've learned.
Right.
It got cleared, and then Chuck and Melina and others shut it down. But the correlation between that and what it represents, Calvin, have not been able to articulate the significance of this. This is beyond her. This is beyond Rev. This is beyond Madison Park. This is a generational decision for Black Boston, whether we're the old Boston,
right,
or the new Boston.
Yeah, and here's an interesting note. I guess we'll wrap with. It's a hot take, but I keep questioning, and Chuck used to, and I used to really disagree with him, and I've come around more recently. Like literally last 5 6
we get Calvin, a lot has changed since we've
sure. But you know, my question to anyone in Boston, to Black Boston, to Puerto Rican, Dominican, like to anyone in Boston, how much do you owe Boston? And I think there's something important about keeping a community, right? When me and Darren came on to Nubian, it was part of this thing was like, yo, we're trying to stake a flag here and do a thing, and Chuck got us to do it, and we would have done it again and again. But we also got to be willing. We also got to be willing to build wealth and to dip set from the cities. Like, how much do we owe it? And this is a project like white, for instance, white Boston, they dipped and didn't worry about, they can't live in South Boston. The white painter can't live in South Boston no more, or South Dorchester, but they making money, done sold the house and is living good in Canton. and like have built wealth and are doing this thing. They weren't worried about the actual physical neighborhood. In fact, in many cases, they still run the politics of it. So that's just a I know it's a hot take, but a big, an overarching question. While we need pockets, I'm down. There also has to be a conversation about how much are we fighting to live in the hood, and what does it look like for us to go somewhere and build different? What does it look like to go somewhere and build different, dog?
So Carlos knows this. I had a clinician on Monday, and you got me into the space of processing in real time on camera. It's personal when you say that, because since a youth worker, I always said that no matter how successful I become, and when I hit this million this year, next year, I'm always going to stay in the hood, because I need the young man to see that I can. Remember the dude that used to ride around? Was it the Honda? I got it, honestly. You remember him?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I always want to be an example. And I get what you're saying, because I've adopted a lot more of self-preservation, self-care, me first, and Calvin, get in the bag so I can fund my own service. I appreciate that.
And I think it's an and. I think it's an and, not an or, by the way. So I love, for instance, when I see, Mariama in the church, when I see the plot of land that they got in the urban farming.
Yes,
so
yes.
And I'm not saying allow gentrification and let's bounce.
Right,
I'm saying like some of us got to be thinking, how much do we owe this neighborhood, this city that don't love us back? You don't love us back. I got it tatted, boy. Like, we love it, but you've never loved us. We've loved you, right? Like, you've never shown us that damn love. And so it's like, how much do we owe it? And what's the contingency of people that are going for the next wave? If one way is to stake a claim in Roxbury, Nubian, I was with that. I was down with that. Helped. Simultaneously, somebody has to be thinking about, how are we building different, building better?
In Boston, or are you saying outside?
Outside of Boston, outside, or maybe somewhere in Boston, but new land. Like, we have to be willing to break with the, like, I have to ride it. I say it mainly because I'm from the South End, where there's now 4 hoods, right? Castle Square, Cathedral, 10th City, Villa Victoria. There's essentially these 4 hoods, right? And I'm from Villa, boom, 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 right? Mel King's from 10th City, boom, boom, boom. So there's these 4 hoods surrounded by a sea of billions of white people that don't want you around. They're buying up things. It's your part of the property is getting smaller and smaller, and we're trying to hold on to it. And it's like, damn, when are we too far behind enemy lines? And we have to do something radically different. For the South End, I think it needs to be radically different. Yeah. If we're going to hold on, no, we love the Villa or Cathedral or 10th City forever. Even 10th City, yo, that's Mel's neighborhood. Even 10th City, you're like, oh my God, could we ever give up 10th City? But they're under occupation. The mall's taking more of your property. Billionaires are taking more of your property. You're behind enemy lines. You're fighting to stay into something where you're at risk. We're never going to repopulate the South End to where it was when the Pullman Porters were here, right? Like Asa Philip Randall, South End, that's never going to be so we have to at some point be thinking about what's the next wave for real, and like, how are we building resiliency somewhere? And it might not be in the area we love and the vision we have for our lives.
It's interesting, because I was talking to someone yesterday about this clinical perspective of integration. And what Dr. Coach Meg said a couple of years ago was that the example was, if you tell an 80-year-old that their sister passed, they're going to cry for about 2 minutes, and they've integrated over the last 80 years and have experienced so much death that they've integrated it into their environment, their way of life, or whatever. And what Carlos is on, so I know he's watching.
Hopefully, if they've done the work. I mean, there are people who are elders because they're wise, and there are people who have just aged. You've just continued to age. You're just 85 now, but you're sort of the growth hasn't been there, right? Like, there's a difference between our elders and their wisdom and the people who have just numerically grown in age. Is all I'm saying.
There's a few of them. Having to integrate what you just said brings up the fact, how long do I stay here? Because remember, I tried to get out of here for about 6 months. How long do I stay?
You was what? You was Harlem Jimmy for a quick summer.
No, I was Brooklyn Jimmy.
Okay. You know, for a couple summers out there.
It ain't nothing like living in Brooklyn. Jesus, God, today. Okay, let's stay focused. I'll be honest, it's hurtful to hear that potential reality articulated. I know you're not saying we're defeated. I believe what I'm hearing you saying is you got to integrate this very real reality that is literally there. These last couple of weeks have been very interesting. When you talk about morals and values, I've had to do not really some self-examination, because you're not perfect, but self done did some shadow work over the last year and a half.
Love that.
I've had to look at dynamics of some relationships and beyond that, look at if those dynamics, how much do the morals and values play into those dynamics? And that's been a very interesting space because and friends, Calvin, hello. You talked about New York. You remember that day I was walking down the street to my first day at work in New York, and I said something to Calvin. What did I say? What was the term I used? And Calvin said, "Oh, when you use terms like that, what did he say? You think you hard because you moved to Brooklyn?"
Right, yeah.
But look, we're friends, and
you were like battle rap Jimmy for a quick summer. You was out there dropping bars.
Friends do have disagree, and this is done turn to a little bit therapy session. It's just been an interesting
we need a healing hour, because I do remember that we had a brief bump. It was a speed bump in the grand scheme of a beautiful relationship.
Yes,
now has spawned, I think, damn near 23. Because I feel like I met you. I came on the scene in 02, so I would have met you like literally in the coming years, because I knew you before you worked at City Hall.
At City Hall, right.
So at least 20 years minimum. Space. I thought the bishop was your pops. Like, if some of us knew you, thought that was legit your pops type of vibe. Like, I knew you before the hall. So in the grand scheme of it, and I'll just say, because I went to Felix Arroyo Sr., I know it's not senior, but Felix Arroyo Sr. had a goodbye, and Carlos was there. And he was like, and I came up, gave him my hand. He was like, yo, I heard what you said on Jimmy's. I was like, and I was very meant. You know what I mean? And like, we got to get to a place where we can disagree, where we can save space for tender moments, even sometimes when they're wildly tendered, right? Emotions high, we say things that we don't mean. And we got to be able to come back from that and continue to be in community. And that's my biggest thing with these mayoral races. I never want to see us beefing. And there's still the fallout. And I said it a year out. Please, y'all, don't let this divide us, because we have to still live here. I know I don't live here. We're still here. We're in community. I'm very involved in the Beantown vibe. Like, we're still with it, man. We still have to be in community together. If Ayana would have pulled if she would have pulled the lever, guess what? We all would have been there. Like, let's do this. The same people you were against just last year. So I see this politics-ish as this is harm reduction. Treat it as such. Let's try to make the gains we can make, but let's never let this have us beefing, have us disrespecting each other, have us disrespecting elders or youngsters. I can't be with any of that.
Thank you, because we always say about the disrespecting elders, but there are some of them damn elders that disrespected a couple of people in this conversation. One of these hosts. So, yes. Probably, I got the Snowzar.
Appreciate you. We gotta do a healing hour. Let's do a healing hour.
We need to heal. I reached out to Thaddeus to just get, because he does Black Joy, and with the impending of what's coming in our CV community, TPS is set to expire on Tuesday. And Calvin, we also remember when I did Break Bread Fellowship and Heal?
Yeah.
And that was for the organizers and activists, and we need to promote some Black joy. And Black, as I said,
even that little men's space you did was beautiful. Beautiful.
When we had the man cave.
Yeah, the little man cave.
Yo, in 2020, brothers gathered in here. They were allowed to smoke, drink, cuss. Some husbands shared that they was learning some things about their spouse that they never knew. It was
real.
Calvin,
I'm on the healing is the biggest thing in my life right now. It's the path that I've been on since 19, and it's the biggest thing in my life right now. So let's get to that at some point.
Okay, brother, I thank you. I love you, Calvin. I respect you, brother, in ways that it knowledge base and all of that. I call Carlos my Yoda. Sensei, not Sensei. Who's the dude that was in karate? Karate
Oh,
Kid.
my Mr. Miyagi.
You're my Mr.
Sensei
Miyagi.
Miyagi.
My Mr. Miyagi. So I really love and appreciate you, Calvin. And thank you for what you did with community today. But there was a couple of nuggets that I'm gonna have to walk away with and might
Chop
have
it up. Let's chop it up. Let's chop it
All
up.
right, brother.
Shout out to Thaddeus, aka Black Jesus, too, man. Shout out to the good brother.
Calvin, I'll talk to you soon, bro. Thank you, man. Thank you so
Love
much
you,
for
brother.
your time and knowledge.
Peace, y'all.
Okay. I need to take a break because we're getting ready to have another very interesting conversation, 12 o'clock. So you got to understand that, brother. That and it was demonstrated here. He knows, and it as he said, there's some here, and I still need to know who y'all are under the name of Mass Coalition for Community Impact. Who's a part of the coalition? So appreciate Yoda being in the room. Keys, we talked about you today. Are you in district? She's going to text me and cuss me out. Listen, I don't know which one you're referring to, Carlos, but that in itself is an issue. All right, folks, we're going to get ready to wrap up. Shout out to everybody. I'm sorry, I didn't engage over on Instagram as well. Shout out to everybody that's on over there. But thank you all for being here. We will be back at 12 noon with brother Nick Gove. I remember the flyer. Brother Nick Gove will be back. Will be with us at 12 noon. Listen, I'm gonna share some with him, but I'm sure that he got the 311. If y'all call 311 rather than just posting on social media, he's aware, but we're going to bring up some stuff. I got a few pictures and I'm going to be able to we're going to ask the questions. We're going to, though the forecast has not looked bad for us this weekend, we just don't know. Today's Friday. We got 48 hours or so where this thing shifted one way and we was going to get a big storm. Now it's shifted that we're not, and then it could shift back. So we are going to ask what if this storm comes, what things are you doing quickly? My street, for example, there's mounds all up and down the street. There ain't no place to put the snow. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about jurisdiction. And what I mean by that is there, Calvin talked about it. There's no matter what, and this ain't no cap for her. There's something Michelle got enough of her own that she needs to take blame and be accountable for. She don't need no extra on her that belong to the state. So we're going to talk about jurisdiction. And we're going to talk about, Boston is a city that really snow should not be an issue for us. It should be such a well-oiled machine. I can't think of the term I want. Operate like clockwork, protocols, procedures in place, whatever. I can't think of the term I want. That this, so we're going to talk with I just seen somebody from the city hop on the Instagram. Anyway, yes, Keys, we talked about you when Calvin mentioned Senator Jalen's intentionality to not have 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot in the state house. And so I said, I wonder if Keys is going to run. But Calvin wasn't sure if you were in district. All right, y'all, I'm tired and I got to come back in 20 minutes. So we'll be back to talk with, I call him the Snow Czar. We'll be back with the Snow Czar, the interim chief of streets for the city of Boston, Mr. Nick Gove. And we'll see you in about 20 minutes. Mother Debbie, I'm going to get in trouble. Y'all know I'm tired. Sister Debbie. Well, Sister Debbie, you're part of the mother's board. I used to get in trouble calling her mother too early. I'm glad that it is in the South End. Oh God, I'm going to get in trouble. The South End would be expected. There's and Sister Debbie, you know where I'm going with this. there's certain parts of the city that it ain't hit yet. And I don't know if they start centrally and work their way out to West Roxbury, Eastie, and then I'm in South Dorchester. So, but we're yeah, we're going to get the answers. But Sister Debbie, thank you, because that is a good thing. That it anywhere in the city that the mounds are coming up is a good thing. We just want some good balance. Thank you. We want some good balance for them to come up a little bit toward Columbus, come up a little bit of Seaver, go down a little bit Blue Hill, take a left on Wales, take a left on Talbot, take a left on Morton, take a right on Norfolk, go back to Blue Hill, and all up in between there. That's. So we're going to find out. And I got to take a break. So we'll be back in just 20 minutes, y'all, with the snows are. Please go to my page, James W. Hills, and share the flyer so we can get as much of the community hearing from, with all due respect, the horse's mouth. See you all in about 20